everybody on YouTube. Hello, Bella here, and I am here with Mindy Pederson, and we are going to be talking about our weight loss together. So we are both on GLP-1 medications, and Mindy has lost 125 pounds or over that much, and she's going to talk to you about her story and everything that we've both got going on. We're both kind of on the same path here, but we've got different perspectives and different things that we've learned over the course of this weight loss journey. So I'm happy to have you here to talk today.
Hi. I guess my journey started, and I've been documenting my journey since I started in October of 2021. Wegovy was approved in June, actually on my birthday of 2021. And later that year, I mean, I've tried losing weight on and off my entire life. I've been a serial dieter forever, which is pretty much the story of anybody who's significantly obese. I had looked several times at weight loss surgery, but I just didn't want to go that route. I knew several people that had actually died due to complications from weight loss surgery, and it just scared the poop out of me, honestly. Yeah. Like, I was just too scared. And honestly, I was too big to have weight loss surgery. I was at 365 pounds when I started. And so I would have had to lose some weight anyway in order to even be eligible for the surgery. And I'm like, why am I going to go through all that trouble and then be like, okay, now cut me open? Obviously no shade to people that do decide to go that route. I just was too chicken.
And it's very permanent. Like, it's a very permanent change to your body.
Yeah. And the people that I knew that didn't die, like, they had permanent changes to their diet. Like, they could never have dairy again. They could never drink soda again. Like, and it depends on the surgery you have, obviously. I know. I just didn't want to alter my anatomy to lose weight. So I had kind of started looking into different things, and everything I knew about weight loss drugs up to that point was like fen and
phentermine.
Phentermine, which I never did, because the people that I knew that did that, they were like straight up meth addicts. Like, it was crazy. Like, I went to a friend's house. Seriously, my first exposure to phentermine, a friend of mine was like, hey, I'm cleaning my house today because I took one of my phentermine. And I went over to her house, and she was literally lifting up her couch and vacuuming underneath it. And I was like, okay, cracky. I'm like, I don't think I can, because I'm like, you give me an 800 milligram ibuprofen and I'm slurring my speech. I just don't think.
I tried it for a little while, but it gave me horrible anxiety and irritability. So I
can't even drink an energy drink. Like, I don't even know. Anyway, so when I found out about Wegovy and the fact that Ozempic had been around for like 14 years at that point or something like that, I can't remember the exact number, but it had been around for a long time. I was like, how is it that I've never heard of this medication? And I started trying to look around to find people, because I'm a research girl. I want to know everything about everything before I start anything. And I was trying to find people's personal stories. Now, apparently they were all over the place on TikTok, but I don't do the TikToks. So I could not find anybody on YouTube talking about Wegovy, talking about their experience on Wegovy. And everybody that was on Ozempic just talked about their diabetic experience, and I was not diabetic.
Right.
So I decided that I was going to set an appointment and talk to my doctor. As soon as I went in and talked to her, she was like, yeah, I've been prescribing Ozempic for years. I'm totally behind it. And this was back when they had the original coupon, where you could get 6 pills for $25 as long as you had commercial insurance, and it didn't matter what.
So you could get a good 6 months.
A good 6 months. And my doctor even was like, well, I got you an extra coupon from my drug rep, so just activate them both and you'll have a full 12 months. Well, what she didn't tell me was that I had to fill a prescription with that second coupon before the first of the year. So here I was thinking I had 12 months on it. And then I went to go and fill the prescription, and they were like, yeah, no, this card wasn't activated before the first of the year. You can't use it. You didn't fill a prescription with it. So it's no good anymore. So I went from thinking I had 12 months to only having 6. Now, in my first 6 months on Wegovy, I lost 65 pounds.
Wow.
It just melted off. And I did I mean, obviously I changed my eating habits.
Yeah, you're kind of forced to, right? Like it's
Yeah, I mean, I tell people all the time on my channel, the drugs aren't going to lose the weight for you. That's not what they are. They're just a tool. All it does is make sticking to your eating plan, whatever kind you choose, because I'm a big advocate of do what works for you.
Same.
Whatever you choose, it makes it easier to do that thing because it kind of turns off the food noise. It turns off
my
the hunger
brain
cues. Like it was so weird for me that from my first shot, honestly, like I know that that's not true for everybody, but from my first shot, I was feeling full for the first time in my life. I was feeling full. I didn't even know what it felt like to be full before that. Like I could eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. And I would eventually get sick. Like I would feel nauseous, but I would never feel full. I felt full for the very first time after taking my first Wegovy shot. I realized a couple days in that I wasn't thinking about food 24/7.
Same thing happened to me. And it's
I
like,
was like,
wow, this is how everybody else feels?
is this what normal people feel like? Like, I just thought that everybody thought about food all the time. Like, if you liked food and you thought food was, and I'm a foodie, like I love to cook.
Love food, same.
So I just assumed that that was something that everybody did. But I knew that that wasn't true because my sister growing up was always very thin. And she would say things like I would be like, ooh, taste this. It's so good. And she would be like, no, I'm full. I can't eat another bite. And I'm like, that's not real. Like you can always eat another, eat another bite. Like that's not a thing. And on Wegovy for the first time, I understood what that meant because in the beginning, at least, like there were times where I had eaten to a point where I literally could not have another bite.
Honestly, like eating my meal and not thinking, oh, what am I going to eat after this? Like, that would be my whole day. I'd eat breakfast and then think about, okay, I can't wait to get to lunch. And then at lunch, I'm like, what am I going to have for dinner? And I'm like,
or if I was on vacation, it was literally my entire vacation was planned around where I was going to eat.
Right. And Wegovy, I guess, is the same as Ozempic in that it's semaglutide.
They're the exact same drug. The only difference is the FDA indication. So basically they took, just like with Mounjaro and Zepbound. So with Ozempic, they saw so many people losing weight on it. They did FDA trials with the med at higher doses. And then they discovered that people experienced more weight on the higher doses. The FDA approved it for weight loss. And rather than just having two different contraindications for Ozempic, they had the Wegovy that went up to 2.4, and then they had Ozempic. But it's the exact same drug.
Yeah. I try to tell people that on my channel because they'd be like, I'm on Ozempic. You need to switch to Wegovy. I'm like, they're the same.
Literally the only difference is Ozempic goes to 2 and Wegovy goes to 2.4. So if they're on 2.0 and it stopped working for them, then switching to Wegovy for a 2.4 milligram dose might help, but it not necessarily. Some people just respond better to tirzepatide. Now,
so you're on tirzepatide now? Or?
No, I'm on Wegovy now. Okay. So after my Wegovy coupon ran out in around June-ish of 2022. Sorry, it's been a long journey. That was right when Mounjaro was approved by the FDA. I switched to a semaglutide compound from a local compounding pharmacy because I had learned about compounds from a local, like from a Facebook group. That conversation got shut down by a moderator and they almost kicked us out because you know how they are in support groups. They don't want to talk about
compounding is the devil.
Yeah, which it's not. But I mean, here's the thing. Some compounding, like peptide pharmacies and research grade peptides are horrible. People shouldn't be taking those, but it's everybody wants to loop it all into one. But I found a local compounding pharmacy that was doing semaglutide and they had a rapid dissolve tablet. So basically Ribelsis. And then they had the injectable, but the rapid dissolve tablet was quite a bit cheaper. So I was like, oh, well, I'll just do the tablet because it's the same thing. It'll be fine. Well, I did the tablet. Apparently it was overpressed and like it wouldn't dissolve. Like if you watch those videos, like I am suffering through taking that tablet. It's awful. I basically ended up having to like crush it up and pour the powder under my tongue.
Oh my gosh.
But it didn't work for me. So and then once right in the middle of that semaglutide compound journey, that was when Mounjaro got approved with the original coupon for 12 refills at $25. And I switched to Mounjaro. Mounjaro never worked as well for me as Wegovy did. In fact, I had more side effects on Mounjaro. I had really bad depression on Mounjaro. I actually have a video on my channel where I talk about the differences between Mounjaro and Wegovy for me.
Yeah.
It is going to be different for every single person. Now, my doctor and I have talked. I'm not insulin resistant. I don't know how I'm not insulin resistant, but I'm not. At 365 pounds, I was pre-diabetic, but I was not insulin resistant. I don't know how that's a thing, but I'm not. Now, my doctor that I'm with now, because I ended up having to fire 3 doctors throughout this whole process, because my first one that gave me that Wegovy prescription, we got a couple months into it and she was like, yeah, this is too much work. I don't want to deal with this. You need to find another doctor, because she didn't like dealing with the coupon stuff and the insurance stuff. She was like, you need to find an obesity doctor. And I was like, I don't want to go to an obesity doctor. They're going to tell me to get weight loss surgery. I don't want weight loss surgery.
And why did you start my care if you weren't going to continue it?
Exactly. So I ended up going to a different doctor, and that was around the time that I was trying to get to the compound. And he was like, I don't feel comfortable prescribing compounds. I don't know enough about them. And then I ended up finding my current physician group. It was Vital Life Wellness. And they worked with a compounding pharmacy in South Austin, Stonegate Pharmacy. They were the pharmacy that I found that did the rapid dissolve tablet. And they recommended Vital Life Wellness to me because they worked with them, because I was having such a hard time finding a doctor that would prescribe a compound at all. And I met with a doctor there that I actually really liked. But then she went on maternity leave.
Oh my gosh.
And so they ended up reassigning me to a nurse practitioner, Jessica Ruiz, who is now my, like, you will have to pry me away from her cold dead hands. I love her so much. She's amazing.
If you find a good nurse practitioner, don't let them go.
No. And in fact, she left the medical group that I was with, and she doesn't take insurance anymore, but she's like, you've been with me for so long at this point, like, I'll just honor whatever your copay was. Because I don't want to lose you as a patient. And that's what she's doing for all of her established payment patients.
That's great.
And then she's going to like what a lot of doctors and practices are doing now, because insurance is so awful. Like they're just doing like cash pay methods. Sorry, I'm a rabbit trail girl. I don't know if you've noticed that. I am all over the place.
I'm here for it. I like to talk about the health system, because we have to work within that to get these medicines. So if you don't know how to navigate it, buddy, you ain't going to get the medicine, because it's like one thing will be going right, and then it'll be like, oh, this changed or that changed, or we're not doing that anymore. And then you're sitting there like, well, how am I going to get next month's medicine?
A lot of doctors just won't even deal with prior authorizations. As soon as they find out you have a PA, they're like, you're going to have to get that from somewhere else, because I don't deal with that.
Or ignore you for 2 weeks, and then you're like,
And so that's one of the reasons I love Fridays so much. Like, I know you and I are both advocates for Fridays, because they have those insurance concierges that will deal with your PA for you. So I know if I ever have an issue with PAs again in the future, I have somebody I can call to take care of that for me. And knowing you have somebody in your corner for that has been like, the horror stories I've heard from people about their experiences with their doctors.
They really tried for me. Like, they tried every, like, Zepbound, Ribelsis, Ozempic, Wegovy, like, everything. I got notifications from Fridays for like a week that was like, we're putting in this, we're trying to get you this, but like my insurance was like, deny. And I was like, well, at least they tried, because I don't have a single physician locally who's even pretending to care.
At least they tried. And that's huge. Like, because most doctors' offices, like I said, my first doctor was like, find somebody else. I ain't doing it. So now I have Jessica, and she's amazing. But eventually I will probably switch to Fridays specifically for my GLP stuff, just because the meeting I had with Dr. Jensen, like, he told me about things and resources about how to make Wegovy more effective for me. Because at this point, I've been on GLPs for 2.5 years.
Right. And it
But they
does
don't
start
work
to
the same
like,
for me
yeah, it does
as they
start to
used to.
not wear off, but like the effects are not as strong, I guess.
No, no, they're not. Like I still have the food noise now. It's
Mhm.
come back. It's not as strong as it was, without the meds.
Right.
But it's still there. The appetite suppression is there. It's just not, again, not nearly as strong as it was. But in many ways, that's a good thing because I was having a hard time eating in the beginning.
Yeah, that's
Um,
the other side of it. You don't want to become to the point of where like, oh, I'm not eating at all. So yeah, you
mhm,
are losing weight rapidly, but not necessarily
yeah,
in the
in a
best.
healthy way. Yeah, from the beginning, I said, I'm not going to be one of those people that loses weight through malnutrition.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to make sure I was getting in enough nutrition, that I was eating enough calories for my size.
Mm-hmm.
So, like when I was 365 pounds and I lost 65 pounds in that first 6 months, like I was still eating over 2,000 calories a day. And let me
Right.
tell you, on a GLP, that is not easy to do. Um, I was not high protein in the beginning. So I was eating a lot more fats because it was the only way that I could get that amount of calories in with the amount that I was able to eat.
Yeah. I mean, and
Um,
that's the thing. Like, if if you have more weight to lose, like you can eat more, but people don't necessarily realize like TDEE and things like that. Like, I
mhm.
have a lot of comments on my channel because I'm small, and they'll say, well, like you haven't lost very much weight. And I'm like, I didn't have that much to lose. It's just
Yeah.
like I'm small and I'm overweight. So,
Right, right.
I would say like I've lost 35 pounds, and they would be like, that's nothing. And I'm like, well, I've lost like a significant percentage of myself.
Yeah.
So it's just like people really don't,
That's not much. Have you
they
ever
don't,
picked up a 35-pound bag of dog food?
right?
That's
Like,
a lot.
I
It's a
know.
lot.
And
You take
it's,
a 1-mile walk with a 35-pound bag of dog food and tell me that that's not a lot of weight. I'm
yeah,
sorry. Like,
everything's better now. Like I feel so much better. And I know I want to keep losing, but it's like you get that momentum going and you're like, wow, I actually do feel better.
so I have arthritis in my hips, my tailbone, and my knees. And in the beginning, like my doctor literally only cleared me for 5-minute walks. She was like, I don't want you to do anything more than like a 5 to 10 minute walk and maybe some swimming. And that's it. So
Mm-hmm.
when I lost that 65 pounds, I was doing zero exercise. Like I was walking a little bit and that's it. And like when I say a little bit, like I still probably was getting less than 3,000 steps a day. I
Yeah.
was very sedentary when I
Yeah.
started this. And there was a point in my journey where I had worked all the way up to 7,500 steps a day. I'm not that gung ho about it now.
Yeah.
Now I get pretty latently, I get about 5,000 steps a day,
Yeah.
pretty
And
easy
I
because I
find
wake
that
up.
pretty active. I mean,
Yeah.
especially when you're like you have to work, you have to cook dinner, you have to take care of your house. Like there's so many
Hmm.
things you have to do. I don't
Yep.
have time to walk 10,000 steps a day. I'm sorry,
Mm-mm.
but like
Nope.
that's like an hour and a half of walking. You're slow like me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I do a 20-minute walk in the morning with my dog right when I wake up in the morning so that I don't have any excuses because I live in Texas where it's hot as heck.
oof.
So if I go for a walk at 6 or 7 in the morning, it's still only like 80, you know.
Mhm.
So
Only 80.
so then I can handle it.
Right.
Some days it's still in the 70s at that hour of the morning. So then we're doing real good. But like walking later in the day outside, not a
Yeah,
thing.
it's
Not a
for the
thing.
birds.
Yeah.
It's hot in Alabama too. Like it's really humid and it's like the highs have been like 96, 97 here and like I'm like I don't even want to walk to my car to drive to the
Yeah.
place that I have to go to.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah,
but
we're 90s triple digits pretty much every day.
I think I saw a channel or a video on your channel about like binge eating disorder. Um,
Yeah.
I have that too, and it's obviously the medicines helped with that, but I just kind of wanted to talk about like I guess the mental side of weight loss and like I
Yeah.
guess the
So,
shame spiral that I would
right.
go through because I have the same thing, and I just felt like
Absolutely.
I don't know, like it's really hard for people to understand if they haven't
Yeah.
personally gone
So
through it.
I haven't been diagnosed BED. I'm kind of a
Mhm.
self-diagnosed BED. I don't know if it's BED so much as a food addiction. Like I actually so a couple months ago, several months ago, so earlier this year, I I was really kind of spiraling. I think it was around April of this year. Like I
Mhm.
was having a real bad time of it mentally. And I definitely was like, I was relapsing into some old habits because the meds just weren't working as well as they were before. And I was just not doing well. And I didn't really have any coping mechanisms to deal with that because pretty much I had just been white knuckling it through the whole thing. Like I knew how many calories I needed to eat, and I meal planned every week, and I made sure that I knew what I was eating, and I just stayed in those parameters. And then I had a couple of weeks where we went on a camping trip, and I did okay on the camping trip, but then we came back and I hadn't planned anything for when we came back. So I had a week of unplanned, and it was not good. And then I went through a massive like shame spiral. Oh, I screwed everything up. I haven't learned anything. All the habits that I've had for the last 2 years mean nothing. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna lose it. And one day I'm just gonna gain it all back. I just know it. And I went into this really bad place. So I started seeing a therapist in April or May. And because I've been to therapy before, but I've never talked about my issues with food. Because I've been obese probably since I was like 8 years old.
Since I was a kid. I don't know a life where I wasn't like fat.
Yeah. I mean, so we went through a period of time briefly when I was in junior high. Well, before I was in junior high, I think I was like 5th or 6th grade. My mom started working for a naturopath, and we all as a family started seeing her and went on this super restrictive natural diet where everything was just, we could eat anything, but it had to be the whole food version of that thing. So like we could have butter, but it had to be butter. Like it couldn't be margarine. It couldn't be, we could have olive oil, but we couldn't have anything fried. So you could pan fried or deep fried. Like we could have corn tortillas. We could have whole wheat tortillas, but no white flour. We could have brown rice, but no white rice. We could have,
you know what I mean? So ultra processed.
Yeah, it was like no ultra processed, very like, meats, vegetables, fruits, grains, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And I dropped over 60 pounds in 3 months.
Wow.
Like at that age, like just, oh, puppy. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I zoom in on him too.
He's coming in here to see what's going on.
Yeah, he's like, you're talking, mama. But anyway, because my mom was in charge of everything I ate. So I didn't have the option to eat unhealthy food. She bought the groceries.
She's buying the food.
You know what I mean? So at school, I had lunch money. And I would eat unhealthy lunches at school because I was in charge of that. So I would eat pizza at school and I would eat, all that crap. But I had a, 10, 11-year-old metabolism. So I was fine eating only one meal a day like that. And then the lady that my mom was working for went absolutely crazy. And she stole all my mom's money. And my mom had to file for bankruptcy. We went and had to live with my sister. And so our rebellion was to completely stop eating healthy and just dive right off the deep end into unhealthy habits. And
that's a lot of trauma going on. And
so when I started going to therapy earlier this year, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to grab this book that I'm going to show you. But when I started going to therapy earlier this year, the first therapist that I met with was not somebody that knew anything about eating disorders, and it was not great.
Yeah.
I did it through BetterHelp.
Therapist really will make things work.
She was a nice lady, but she was not the right person for me.
Right.
So I did it through BetterHelp, and I went. And the nice thing about BetterHelp is they make it so easy for you to search for a new therapist. And you don't even have to break up with your therapist. You could just hit a button and be like, I don't want to meet with this person anymore. Because let me tell you, as a non-confrontational people pleaser, if I had to actually tell them, I'm sorry, we're not seeing each other anymore, I might stay with them forever.
No, I'd be like, this is it. This is what I'm doing now.
Yeah, this is what I'm doing now. Exactly. So when I met my new therapist, she specialized in eating disorders and food addiction and stuff like that. And she started talking to me about CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and DBT. I think it's dialectical behavioral therapy. And so I started diving into that phase first. Like I started listening to podcasts. I started, just doing all these things and learning all of these kind of coping mechanisms and how to think differently about things. And it was just so massively, hugely helpful, like trying to get through those moments where I'm having unhealthy thoughts rather than careening into, why are you having these thoughts? What's wrong with you? You're like, rather than going down that rabbit hole, it's okay. Well, that was a thought. I
Doesn't
don't need
mean
to do that thing. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with me. It just means I had that thought. A thought is a thought. That's okay. I don't have to act on it and I can move on. And learning that that was okay and that there was nothing wrong with me for having those thoughts was a huge thing. The other thing that really helped, and I don't even know if you're going to be able to see
I can
it.
see it.
It's called the Food Addiction Recovery Workbook.
Mm-hmm.
I got it on Amazon, and it's by Dr. Carolyn Coker Ross.
Okay.
And it's like a workbook.
Yeah, so
And
you fill out questionnaires.
yeah,
I love those because I'm more interactive. I can focus better if I'm like writing and I'm actually in it.
Yep, I'm ADHD too, honey. I understand.
Yep.
So, well, again, self-diagnosed ADHD. I don't know that.
Well, we probably aren't going to get diagnosed. Like, they don't want to diagnose any adult woman. Like, I just got a diagnosis like 3 months ago, and I'm like, I cannot believe this because I've like lived with this forever. But,
but like everything I watch everywhere about ADHD, I'm like, yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's me. Because growing up, I always thought ADHD was the male version of ADHD. Because
like bouncing off the wall.
Exactly. It displays very differently in men and women, which I didn't know was a thing. And so when I learned, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but ADHD and eating disorders in women.
Yes.
They go hand in hand. Like it's very, very common. It's very uncommon to see women with ADHD that don't have an eating disorder of some kind.
Yeah, I fully believe that because I mean, once I started treating like my depression and my ADHD, that's like when I start like feeling more healthy about like everything in my life. I don't feel so all or nothing when it comes to what I'm doing, or like, okay, you didn't hit like 7 days in a row of this, so just quit. Just don't ever do it again. Like,
and I have a little bit of OCD tendencies too. So that I'm definitely a perfectionist. So that like that I identify with that so completely, the all or nothing. Like if you're not 100% on, then, and that's why I think that the moderation mindset that I took this time around with my weight loss, I think that's why that's been so successful for me.
Yes.
Because I never said that anything was off limits.
Yes.
There's nothing for me to screw up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm totally in agreement with that. I have a lot of people who say, I only do low carb, or I only eat this, or I only do that. And I'm like, I can't live like that. I'm sorry.
Look, if that works for you, great. I am not going to go the rest of my life without eating a cookie.
No.
I mean, mostly ice cream because I love ice cream.
I'm not going to go the rest of this week without eating a cookie.
Exactly. And so, but that's the thing, is you don't have to. And here's the thing. There is no secret recipe to weight loss. There is none. That it's calories in, calories out. And I know every fat girl hates that saying, hates it with a fiery passion, but that's science. It is. Now, calories in, calories out is not as simple as it sounds, because the calories out part is so varied from person to person based on so many factors. Metabolic syndrome, PCOS, Hashimoto's, thyroid issues, all of those things. Like, not everybody, even of the same age, height, and weight, is going to burn the same amount of calories. Your muscle mass, all of that affects your metabolism. So my big thing was learning about how metabolism worked and what I could do to help increase my metabolism, to help encourage my metabolism to improve from years of serial dieting. Because metabolic adaptation is a thing. Our bodies adjust to what they're given. So if you eat extremely low calories, your body realizes that it's starving to death. Like it can't keep up its metabolic processes in the way that it is unless it uses less with what you're giving it. So your metabolism will slow in order to accommodate the amount of calories you're giving. And that's why I do calorie cycling. It's why I take breaks from calorie deficits. So I do right now, I do 6 weeks of cutting or calorie deficit, and then I do 2 weeks of maintenance.
Okay.
And so
like
the nice,
I might be doing that unintentionally.
The nice thing is that it gives you more than even the metabolic benefits is the mental benefits.
Yes.
Because it like mentally being in a deficit is exhausting.
Yeah.
Like I know it doesn't seem like 500 calories a day should be that big of a deal, but it's a big deal. Like 500 calories is a lot, especially when you're already on a restricted calorie diet to begin with. So like my difference in what I eat between a cut phase and a maintenance phase is massive, even though it's only a 500 calorie a day difference. And like you just have so much more freedom. It's like if I want to have an extra snack because I'm feeling snacky, even though I know I'm probably not hungry. Like if I'm in a deficit phase, like I just have to say, no, it doesn't matter that you feel snacky. We don't have the calories for that today. But if I'm on maintenance, I can grab a candy bar or an extra Built bar or insert snacky thing here. And I don't have to feel like I'm sabotaging myself.
And you don't feel like you're on a diet constantly.
I mean, because I was for the first over a year and a half, I would say I was just on a deficit the whole time. And it took its toll for sure. Like mentally, physically, like my weight loss was slowing way down. Since I've started the cut and maintenance phases, like I have not gone into a stall at all. I haven't always been super successful in the maintenance phases. Like I've gained back a little bit on some of them. Like this last maintenance phase was when I went on my vacation to California and I was not calorie counting while I was there. So I gained 8 pounds, but the thing is that's water weight. There's no way that I consumed enough food in that week for me to have gained 8 pounds of body fat. And it's already all gone. Like that 8 pounds is already gone and it's only been like a week and a half to 2 weeks. You know, there's so many things that you can do to kind of hack your metabolism. I have a whole video on high protein because everybody wants to talk about how you need to eat all the protein, but nobody ever tells you why.
1 million grams a day.
But nobody ever tells you why. So I took a deep dive into why protein is actually important for weight loss. And the long and short of it is it keeps you full. It speeds up your metabolism. And those are the most important ones.
Keeping you full is huge because like that's the thing. I would always feel hungry. I don't because I didn't eat enough protein. The food I ate really wasn't great food because I have so many cravings from restricting my calories that I'm like, sugar, give me all the sugar. Like it was just a loop and it just didn't work. Like it's so frustrating. But I've been on this for like, I guess like 2.5 years. But not consistently because of all the shortages and all of the, insurance issues. So going to Fridays was like, oh my God, you mean I'm finally going to be able to like get my medicine consistently and affordably. So, and then paying for it is no longer a sense of stress because like, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep doing something that like is basically like saving my life. So it's really frustrating that we're in that system, but I wanted to ask you about like, I guess going forward, do you think that you'll continue to stay on a GLP-1? I know there's a lot of people who say they're going to do maintenance on it. Like I'm like, I think this might be for life.
I think everybody needs to do what's right for them. My goal is to not stay on the meds once I've lost the weight. I don't think the meds are necessary for maintenance unless you're taking them for some sort of metabolic disorder.
Gotcha.
So like if you've got like Hashimoto's, PCOS, like you've got some sort of issue,
Yeah.
then it's addressing on a metabolic level, then
Right.
yeah, those people probably need to be on these
Yeah.
meds for life. If you're someone like me who just ate too much all the time, I'm hoping that the 3 to 4 years that I'm probably going to have to be on these drugs just to get the weight off is going to be enough for me to learn new habits that
Right.
will allow me to maintain. I don't see anything wrong with staying on the
Sure.
med
Yeah,
forever.
I know
But
what you mean.
more than anything, I just don't want to deal with the stress and the insurance headache and the all of that. Like, I just don't want to deal with that forever.
Yeah.
Now, the hope is that as more and more of these drugs come out, like what we've got retatrutide on the way, we've got a quad agonist in trials. There's so many things, and there's just going to get to be more.
Yeah.
The awesome thing is that as those meds become more and more prevalent, they're just going to get less expensive. It's a supply and demand thing, right? So the other thing is that Ozempic, I don't remember how long patents or how long they're good. I know what's the S one? Saxenda? I think their patent is getting ready to run out like next year or something like that.
Generic of it?
So generics can be made. And once generics can be made, then they'll be real affordable. And then once there is even one generic available, like Saxenda, the side effects are terrible. You have to do it every day. I know people that are on Saxenda that don't love it, but if it's the difference between having it or not having it,
right? Yeah.
Saxenda is going to open a generic Saxenda is going to open the doors for a lot of people to leave semaglutide, tirzepatide, retatrutide, like all those things. They're going to have to do something to compete.
Yeah.
To not lose those customers.
I mean, Ozempic running commercials nonstop while they don't have a supply is the most hilarious and absurd thing to me. I'm like,
it is. Yeah. Well, and the hilarious thing to me is because I was the Oprah special that ran last year, they contacted me to use some of my content on that special. It was literally just pictures and me saying, "Hi, I've lost 120 pounds," or whatever it was, They even cut out me saying my name. I was like, well, that would have been helpful. People,
thanks for the plug.
That. Yeah. But like, there were so many people that gave me hate for that because they're like, why are you trying to over advertise something that already, it's like the Hollywood elite is why we don't have drugs. The Hollywood elite is not why there's a shortage. It has nothing to like that small amount of people that are using these meds for vanity weight. First of all, it's the doctor's fault for prescribing it to them. But like, that small amount of people is not the reason there's a shortage. The shortage is because the companies won't release the vials. Like, they can make semaglutide and tirzepatide all day long. They've got plenty of the meds. The problem is the pens. The problem is the pens. They can't make enough of the pens, and they don't want to release vials, which have been approved by the FDA, and they're doing it overseas. But in the US, they won't release the vials because they don't think people are responsible enough to give themselves the right dosage.
Well, they still take the whole pen. Like, I've had people come on in my comments and say, like, I took the whole pen, and I'm like, no, baby, that's not what you were supposed to do.
It's like, all you have to do is just keep on clicking. It's like, I mean, here's the thing. Wegovy, Mounjaro, and Zepbound are all single-use pens. So those, it's a one and done. Like, you shoot, you throw the pen away. Ozempic is a dialed pen. So the other thing is that the reason they don't like the dial pen is that people who are on lower doses can just keep going up in strength.
Keep twisting.
Can keep going up in strength and using the lower doses, and then the pens just last them longer. So they get less money because you've got people that are only on a 1 milligram dose with a 2 milligram pen Now that one pen is lasting them 2 months. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's the
Yeah.
same price. There's all sorts of things that people are going to do to get around. People are going to do what they're going to do.
Yeah.
There's videos on YouTube showing people how to disassemble Wegovy pens and dole out your doses.
Wow.
Like,
oh man.
it's just, I mean, it's crazy. Like, people are going to figure out a way to do whatever they're going to do.
Right.
Like, you
And
can't.
yeah, I mean, because of our healthcare system and how much things cost, I really can't blame anyone. Like,
No.
I mean, it's like, yeah, if you paid $800 for this and you need it to last you 8 weeks, that's your prerogative how you want to take it.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah. Well, meanwhile, overseas, they're paying less than $200.
$150. Yeah, I've had a lot of people
Yeah.
say, "Oh, we live in Europe or whatever, and it was 100 euros," and I'm like, ugh. I like literally thought about flying to Mexico and just buying a bunch of pins and then flying back, because I was like, at that point I was so desperate.
Yeah, I actually looked into that because I live in Texas and the border ain't that far. I thought about driving over every month or
Yeah.
every 3 months and
Yeah.
getting a 3-month supply and bring it back. But the problem is that, like, with customs, there's only so much you can bring back. You have to bring the prescription with you. Like, there's all this stuff. And if you
Yeah.
try to bring too many with you, they can actually book you for drug dealing.
Oh my
That's the thing.
gosh.
Yeah. So, like,
You have
I
to
was
have
like,
a
it
very
decided it wasn't worth it.
you have to have a very strong resolve when
Yeah.
crossing the border.
I was like, maybe I'll mail it to myself. I'll send it
Yeah.
international.
Yeah, but it's like, wow, what have we come to that we're trying to do
That's even a thought. That's
Yeah.
something you have to think about. Like, obviously, I would never do it because I am such a rule follower, and I am.
Oh gosh, I
way
would. I was gonna do it. My boyfriend's like, please don't do this. I was like, I have to have the medicine. You don't understand. Like,
Yeah, I told my husband, and he was like, "You are not driving to Mexico to pick up prescription drugs. That is not a thing." Because he's a commercial truck driver.
yeah.
He was like, "No, never
But
gonna happen."
people do it for insulin and for all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, Americans go every day.
Well, I know that for a while, people, like, when I was first starting, people were getting their Ozempic from Canada.
Oh yeah, I got some from Canada. I got like 1 month, but it was still like $200. So I mean,
see, when I was starting, it was only 200. Like, there was this one pharmacy, and like everybody was going there to get their Ozempic. And then, because when I started in 2021, the shortages were kind of starting to be a thing, but nowhere near what they are now. So, like, it wasn't a big deal for people to get them there.
I think Canada was like, we're only going to give it to Canadians or something.
Yeah, I think they actually ended up like putting the kibosh on. Like,
yeah,
they said no.
But yeah, I did use. I think I don't remember what company it was, but I mean, there was a bunch of them popping up, and you go in like Reddit groups, and they'd be like, "I'm ordering it from this Canadian pharmacy," and my doctor didn't care. I mean, she's like, "Yeah, if you can
That's
get it,
what you got to do."
Yeah, but I think we've both tried just about everything to get it. We've tried coupons. We've thought of Mexico, Canada, like.
Yeah, I mean, I've been very lucky. I have never had to skip a month due to shortages, but I was also one of those people who, like, I was on top of it. Like, when I was doing the month to month, like, I got my meds every 3 weeks. As soon as the coupon would allow me to reorder, I was like, I had a alert on my phone.
Yeah.
I was calling. And like, if my regular pharmacy didn't have it, I had 3 or 4 others that I would call, and I already had a prescription with them. Like, I knew, because I was so familiar with all the issues that everybody was having. I did not want to get stuck.
Right. I think I called like 50 pharmacies at one point.
Yeah, I was lucky that I got in with that initial coupon. So the only issue for me was supply. I did run into it a little bit with my Wegovy in the beginning. I had to stay on 1.7 for 2 months because I couldn't get 2.4. And 1.7 was the worst dose for me.
That's so weird. Like, some of the lower ones are worse than the higher ones.
Yeah, I will say probably the thing that I regret the most was titrating too fast, because my doctor was like, nope, every 4 weeks we're going to put you up, because the highest doses is where the highest weight loss is, and we need
that's such an American. We need to do it now. We need to do it fast.
Whereas the doctor that I have now, like, if I had been with her, she would have told me, stay on the doses until they stop working.
Right. Minimum
and
effective dose.
I wish I had
Yeah.
had that knowledge back then, because I probably wouldn't be as bad off in terms of resistance
Yeah.
as
I'm
I am now.
on 1.7 now, but I just got my 2 point, I guess it's 2.4.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking about just kind of doing just from 1.7 to 2.
Mhm.
And just kind of
That's
let
the
that,
nice thing about the compound, is you can really
you
you
can,
can go up
as
as
long as
like,
you can do math, which is
yeah,
hard, but
math is hard, tell you
yeah.
what, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I have to use those little calculators, the peptide calculators. But I think what you said was very, very spot on. That if you don't have to go up, if it's still working, there's
Mhm.
no reason to go up. It's gonna make things harder down the road.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things that I learned the hard way was that some of the higher doses don't work as well as the lower doses do. I really feel like for some of us, there is a magic dose,
Hmm.
and just going up isn't necessarily going to make it work better.
Right,
Because
more
I've
is
seen that,
not better.
yeah, more is not necessarily better if your body doesn't need it.
Hmm.
And I have seen many times in the support groups where people are like, yeah, I was doing great on zero point 0.5. And then I went up to, what's the next one? 0.7 or
Or
one.
0.75 or
I think
point
1 milligram is
one.
next.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um,
basically
and then
double dose.
and then I went up to 1 and I completely stopped losing weight. I plateaued, and like I feel horrible,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like, and so it's just like it happens all the time. People think that more is more, and
Hmm.
it's like it's not necessarily better. Like,
Right. Yeah. And
meds are more complicated than that.
I don't want to, I don't want to put any more medicine in my body than I have to. I was going to ask you, I guess at this point, do you have a goal weight, or are you kind of like me where you're just like, as long as things are smooth sailing, I'm fine. Like, I'm not trying to reach some pedestal in the sky of a perfect
No.
weight.
I have like an initial goal weight that I know is higher than an ideal weight for my body, which is 175 pounds. I'm 5'6".
Hmm.
Um, and I have a lot of muscle on my body. Like, I'm one of those people where I put on muscle really easily.
Hmm.
And at 365 pounds,
You had to have
you have to have muscle for your body to function. I do have a decent amount of muscle on my body. Even when I was younger and I got to that point where I was really thin, like you could see my hip bones and you could count my ribs if I really breathed in. But
Mhm.
the lowest I ever got was like 143 pounds.
Right.
So like I know 175 pounds is achievable and it's still overweight. But when I get there, I'll see how I
Yeah.
feel. Like I said, I'm not trying to be a size 8. I'm not trying to like, or a size
Yeah.
6 or
Oh, yeah.
whatever.
No,
Like that's
when I
not,
was a size 12, I was like, "Oh my god, I'm so skinny."
yeah. I tried on a size 14 pair of jeans at Torrid a couple weeks ago, and I was like, this is not real life at all.
Yes,
Because I
like
was sizing out of my 28s when I started. And so, like, that was just weird,
yeah.
surreal. Granted, torrid sizes are not real sizes. Like, they try to make fat people feel better by making their
Yeah.
sizes smaller than
I
they really are.
appreciate it.
I mean, I appreciate it. Sure, went out. It was a great confidence booster. But then I went shopping somewhere else and I'm wearing 16, 18s. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah.
women's sizes are a myth anyway. But
Oh, no, they're just meant to make us feel even crazier than we already feel.
yeah, it's like gaslighting by the fashion industry.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, so I don't, it's a loose goal just to have something to shoot for, but like I just want to feel good.
I
That's the big
understand.
one. Like I just want to feel good. Like I don't want to be in pain anymore. I don't
Mhm.
want to like, and I mean I'm not for the most part. Like it's very rare for me to have any arthritis pain anymore.
Mhm.
I went to Disneyland when I was in California, did over 25,000 steps and felt fine other than my feet being sore.
Right. Disney will
So,
take it out of you.
yeah, for sure. But like, I mean, there's no 25,000 pounds, 25,000 steps never would have happened at 365 pounds.
Right. You
Like,
can
there's
see the
no,
difference of like what you're able to do now that
mhm.
you're at this weight versus before. I felt so like my life felt so limited before. Like,
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I had been so overweight for so long, like that just was my life. So like I didn't realize, like, I won't even say what I was missing out on, because I'm not like a super social active person anyway. Like, I'm 45. I'm not clubbing
Right.
anymore. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so, but like, just, my best friend had a baby 2 years ago, and, um, I had already lost like a little over 60 pounds, I think, when Abby was born.
Mhm.
And like, the kind of stuff that I can do with Abby now, I would have struggled so badly at my highest weight to try and keep up with her, to even want to do things with her, because I just had no energy. I mean, I led a very sedentary lifestyle, so I didn't feel like I had no energy, because it's not like I was trying to do anything that required energy.
Mhm.
Now, like, seeing the things that I'm able to do,
Right.
like going to
That's
Disneyland,
yeah.
like going to the zoo with my family,
And
2 days later.
not feeling like miserable
Absolutely.
during that or after that. Yeah,
Mhm.
I always struggled to keep up with the people in our group. If they walked, I was like, oh my god, like I'm trying to keep up. Plus, I have small legs, so that
Yeah.
doesn't help either. But I was just like, I always got left behind, and it was almost like metaphorically sad too, because
Yeah.
I'm like I'm being left behind.
Mm.
So it's kind of
Yeah.
nice to not feel that, but
See, and I think I was more like, I was so self-conscious about my weight that I would just push myself really hard to try and keep up,
uh,
and then suffer after.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I would just be in massive amounts of pain, and like, just with my hips, and like,
Mhm.
I would be out of breath and trying not to sound like I was out of breath, and
Yeah, the
like, just
masking, like, trying to I'm not fat, like, like, masking
mhm,
yeah, and it's
right.
people don't realize, like, I have a lot of I get a lot of really mean comments of saying, like, "You're just not trying, you're taking the easy way out," just things like that, and I'm like, "If you knew how my whole life revolved around weight loss since I was a little girl, then you would
Mhm.
not, like, say any of
Yeah.
that." Like, I've tried everything.
I'm very lucky in that the community of people that watch my videos are very supportive. I very rarely get any hate comments. Here's the thing, even maintaining is a win. If you never lose another pound and you just stay at 35 pounds lost,
Mhm.
that's better than where you were before.
Yeah.
Anybody that I've ever seen make comments like that on any forum, they have no concept of what your life is like. They have no concept of what being in your body is like, and they just don't know, and they couldn't possibly understand, otherwise they would never say something like that.
Yeah, just kinda
Um
it's ignorance.
yeah, it's just ignorance. And I had this one I saw on, and I'll rarely defend myself when people say things about me, but I was watching a video about, that another person had put out. That I follow a lot of like really positive, like, motivation content on
Yeah.
Instagram. And this one person was kind of talking about like ways to increase your protein, or ways to do this, or ways to do that. And this person came on, and he was just making all of these really ugly comments about how it's not about that. Like, you're just feeding your body crap, and you're just doing this, and you're not helping anybody by saying these things. And it's like, you have no idea what you're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
that her content has helped me. So already
Right,
you're wrong.
right.
So, and I mean, I've lost over 125 pounds. I eat bread. I eat cookies. I eat ice cream. I
Yep,
eat all those things.
yep.
I eat, and I mean, I would love to say in moderation, but sometimes it's not in moderation, and that's
I
okay,
mean, no,
because
you're just
nobody's ever going to be perfect.
yeah,
Here's the thing, I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I don't, not that there's anything wrong with those things, but I don't. And everybody's got their vice. And it's funny because some of those people are making those comments, and they're probably an alcoholic. Like, they're doing, there's no
they've got
way
something.
everybody always
Yeah,
does something.
right.
Everybody always does things 100% healthy for themselves 100% of the time.
Yeah. Or
Everyone's got their vice.
or they're in credit card debt, or they're cheating
Yeah.
on their partner, or,
Mhm.
it's a
Yeah.
myriad
You've
of
all got
things.
your own crap. Because when
Yeah,
you pointing your finger at someone else, you got 3 more pointing back at you.
yeah,
So stop it. Stop it. Like, it's not okay. Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand why the internet gives people free license to feel like they can just tell everybody else what they're doing wrong with
It's
their
stuff
lives.
you would never say in person to someone's
Mm-mm.
face. So I'm like,
Well, you say that, but I just watched this video the other day. This woman was talking about how a complete stranger walked up to her at Aldi when she was grabbing a Snickers bar. And this man came up to her and said, "Well, you were doing really good until then."
oh gosh.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I would have
What?
trouble not doing
And this
physical
is
power.
somebody who's lost a significant amount of weight.
Yeah.
He has no concept of, he has no idea, no way of knowing. He doesn't know what the rest of her diet looks like. And even if he did, shut up. It's none of your business.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you say that's something that you would
Yeah.
never say in person, but let me tell you, there are people
Yeah.
who will say it in person.
Unsolicited advice is unfortunately very common when you're fat. It's like everyone feels like they can tell you what you need to do.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is that if she had been skinny, he never would have said that in a million years.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I wasn't blessed with a fabulous metabolism so that I can eat Snickers all day long and never gain an ounce of weight.
The audacity.
I ordered one, but it never came.
Right.
So
It got lost in the mail.
Yeah, it got lost in the mail. But people think that they know about you just because of the way you look.
I've gotten really thick skin, I think, from making the Ozempic videos, because those seem to get a lot of hate. But I've also had more than 95% of people say that they helped them, the videos help, or that they learned something. So I'm like, well, I'll just stick to thinking about those people.
Yeah.
Content.
Yeah. I'm still in shock that people watch my videos. Like, I feel like I'm such a weirdo, and I don't like my journey has been very up and down. And I've been very transparent, like, the whole time. Like, people know, like, I made my 100-pound weight loss video at the end of 2022. So it's been a year and a half later, and I'm still only at 125 pounds. So in a year and a half, I've only lost an additional 25 pounds, 25, 30 pounds-ish.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So,
but like you said, you also kept off the other 100.
Yeah, exactly. The other 100 pounds. So it's like, I say that in my mind, like, it's only another 25 to 30 pounds, but it's another 25 to 30 pounds.
Yeah.
In the past, not only did I not lose that weight to begin with, but I never stayed on anything or stayed with anything for longer than maybe 6 months. Maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe, because it was usually so restrictive that I just couldn't grin and bear it for longer than that.
It's when anything's restrictive, you're gonna fail eventually, unless you're just like making yourself miserable. Because I've lost the weight and gained it all back. I know how to lose weight. Like, I know it's a math equation, but it's so much more than just that. Like, it's also up here.
Yeah. I've said before, losing weight is the easy part. Like, we all know how to lose weight. Like, it's I mean, not that it's easy to lose weight, but, like, I'm just saying, like,
conceptually,
we know how. Like, we've all lost weight in one form or another. It's the maintaining and the staying with it that's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sticking with it and continuing to do what you need to do in the times when you're not losing, or when you're gaining, when you used to lose, when you ate that way, or you know what I mean? So it's like, just persevering through the lack of motivation, because motivation doesn't last.
That excitement you get when you first start a diet goes away pretty quickly.
Real quick. Yeah. And that's why so many people are so fond of low carb, is because carbohydrates generate glucose, right? And glycogen in your body, and glycogen holds on to water molecules. So when you deprive your body of carbohydrates, you lose your glycogen stores through energy that you expend. And when all that glycogen goes away, so does the water that it holds on to. So the reason you lose so much weight so quickly in the beginning on low carb is because you're dehydrating your cells. That's where the keto flu comes from. It's dehydration.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they tell you when you start keto, you should be taking electrolytes and minerals and, all that stuff, because it helps to rehydrate your body. Because when you lose all of that water, all of those minerals get leached out of your body with it. So that's why you get all those muscle cramps, you get the headaches, you get all that stuff. It's mineral deficiency. So it's like everybody wants to say, oh yeah, you lose weight so much faster with low carb. Well, yeah, in the beginning, because you're losing a ton of water weight. Once all that water is gone, now you're just in a calorie deficit because carbohydrates are easy to overeat and they're very calorie dense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're not as calorie dense as fat is, which is why keto people crack me the hell up, because
they eat so much and they're like,
they eat so much fat and they're like, well, I don't have to count calories. It's like, you do if you want to lose weight, friends. I don't know how to tell you this, but I mean, fat is very satiating and so is protein. So that's why you feel like you don't need to eat as much on keto, because carbohydrates, I mean, you do lose out on all the fiber. But something interesting I learned, so you know how everybody says, oh, you go into ketosis so that your body can use fat for fuel instead of carbohydrates. So it's crazy to me how people demonize whole food groups. Like,
you're never gonna hear me say you shouldn't eat blueberries and strawberries because they've got too much sugar. Like,
for sure,
it's fruit, people.
It's fruit. Fruit ain't the problem, honey. I promise.
No, I did not get fat by eating too much fruit.
Seriously. I mean, I got fat eating a whole lot of carbs, but it wasn't fruit. Yeah. That's for dang sure. And it wasn't vegetables. Oh, the carnivore people. Oh, the carnivore people.
Yeah, it's like every corner of the internet has some rule of thought about weight loss. And I guess for us they would say, well, they're all on GLP-1. So there's probably some people thinking that we're crazy.
I'm sure. But that's the thing, like, you'll have these people that are like, the only reason you're losing weight is because you're on GLP. I dare you to take a look into a GLP support group and look at how many people are talking about the fact that they're not losing weight.
Yeah, because they haven't changed anything.
It's not the drugs that lose the weight for you. It's the habits.
Yeah.
You still have to do the work. You're not just gonna one day wake up, take Wegovy, and 50 pounds flies off your body. Like, that's just it's not how it works.
It's just, if you're climbing up a hill and you finally get like some kind of support, it just feels like you're still climbing up the hill.
Yeah.
It's a little bit easier.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all it is. It's a tool. It's a tool. And I think the people that have that mindset are the ones that are successful long-term on these meds. I know we talked earlier about, like, will you be on these meds forever type thing. I think it's dangerous for people to say that you have to stay on these meds to maintain your weight loss. The reality is that all methods of weight loss, all of them, regardless, they vary slightly, but all weight loss methods have like an 80 some odd % failure rate. That includes weight loss surgery, that includes drugs, that includes regular diet and exercise. And that's just because maintaining is hard. And eventually people get to the place where they're tired of trying. I don't think it's healthy to tell people that they're not capable of maintaining weight loss without the help of the drugs. Am I saying that means that people should feel bad for staying on them? Absolutely not. There's nothing wrong with getting help. I don't like the mindset that seems to be perpetuating that it's impossible to maintain without them.
Yeah, or that everything's going to go back to the way it was before.
Exactly. If that's the case, then there hasn't been a lot of work done to establish new habits.
Yeah, I think I'll probably stay on at least a low dose for a while, but I have PCOS and I have insulin resistance, which I don't understand. All of my numbers, like for my A1C is fine, but then I'm insulin resistant. So.
Yeah, well, insulin resistance can be genetically determined. It can also just be from serial dieting. So, like,
both my grandparents,
that's why I was so shocked that I wasn't insulin resistant. Because basically what it is just your body having been exposed to so much overabundance of insulin that it just decides that it's not going to respond to it as much as a survival mechanism. So, I mean, that's a very simplified explanation, but that's pretty much what insulin resistance is.
Gotcha.
So, like all of those times that you went through where you were having binge episodes, where you would just flood your system with massive amounts of insulin, like it's your body's way of adapting to that.
Gotcha.
And I mean, trust me, honey, I did plenty of that. But I will say that, like, I have been on diets more in my life than I've been off of them, if that makes any kind of sense.
Yeah, it does.
It's just that I've never been on them long enough for any given period of time to have any significant amounts of weight loss.
Yeah.
Shoot, I even did HCG at one point. I don't know if you know what HCG is.
What is that?
HCG is human something. Anyway, it's the hormone that our body puts out when we're pregnant.
Oh, okay.
And so in theory, the theory is that the hormone is what makes your own fat stores bioavailable to pull as a caloric need for the fetus to grow.
Oh,
so for the baby.
Yeah.
So the idea was, or the theory behind it was, if you inject yourself with HCG, then you can eat 500 calories a day, and then your body will just pull from its own fat stores to feed you nutritionally for the other calories that you need. And then you can just burn off your calories. Honey, I was losing weight because I was eating 500 calories a day, not because of HCG.
Yeah.
It's so unhealthy. Like the things that we do to our bodies and that we tell ourselves because we read some science article that it's okay.
I get it. I mean, I think at the point when you get to the point of like desperation, you will try anything, you will do anything. And I think that's how I got on Ozempic. My aunt was telling me she told me like, hey, I'm doing this and it works for me. And I was like, well, you've got similar genetics to me. So if it's working for you, it might work for me. And I went and got the prescription. So that just happened to be the one thing that kind of worked, but it just happens to be at following a series of things that did not work at all. On a more, I guess, positive note, I was going to talk to you about, see if you have like any like goals for the rest of 2024. Are you working on anything? Is there anything like that you're like, okay, there's 6 months left in the year. What am I going to do? I was kind of panicking earlier. This morning.
I made a goal at the end of 2023 to lose 50 pounds this year. I don't know if I'm going to make it. I am definitely making way more progress since I've had the therapy and since I started going through the food addiction recovery stuff and things like that. Like I'm in a much, much better place. The Fridays support groups have been fantastic. Like I've really been enjoying those. And so I feel like I'm in a good place. There's a good chance that I'll make it, but like I'm going to have to like really like.
Yeah. And holiday season. Oh my God. That's so hard.
So holiday season for me isn't awful just because like my family is all in California.
Yeah.
So like it's just me and my husband. For Thanksgiving. I literally do all of the cooking for the group of friends that we have Thanksgiving with. And honestly, by the time the meal comes, I'm just so tired that like I eat my one plate of food and I'm over it.
Yeah.
So like, I know like holiday season in general, like my whole thing is I can't keep it in the house if it's not something that I can eat whenever I want. So in general for parties, like I will try to go parties elsewhere. And if there's something I really, really want, I'll take it with me. I'll make it, I'll bring it, and I'll leave it there.
Oh, that's smart. That's a pro tip.
Because if I have too much of it at a party, that's one night.
Right.
It's one night. One night is not going to ruin all of my progress. But if I have it sitting in my house, I will eat the whole thing. Like I will eat all of it. And so,
yeah. So the end of 2024 is kind of when you're like, are you gonna like celebrate or reassess or
I mean, I'm very, very close to 10,000 subscribers. So like, that's the kind of immediate goal right
Oh my
now.
gosh. Well, hopefully some people will come over from this video.
It would be great if they
Yeah.
did. But
I'm gonna put everything in the description, put your channel in the description in the comments so they can
yeah,
find you.
that would
So
be awesome. But I'm at my current growth rate, I'm like maybe a month away
mhm,
from 10,000.
mhm.
So it would be really awesome if that happened. But
Yeah.
I am a terrible goal setter because of that perfectionism thing. Like I'm terrified of setting goals and then not meeting them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then cuz then I feel like a failure. So like
Yeah.
I just don't set goals. And I know
I
that's a terrible
understand.
thing to do
No,
because
I understand that. I have the same thing. I've kind of learned to set more loose goals,
yeah,
I
I
guess, or
try to
like
set goals that I'm in control of. So like in
mhm.
general, doing that whole losing 50 pounds in a year thing, I was hesitant to do it. But I knew that it would be something that was kind of sitting in the back of my head and it was definitely doable.
Yeah.
But I generally only like to set goals that I'm in control of 100%. And I am
Mhm.
not 100% in control of how much weight I lose.
Yeah.
Like I'm in control of my habits.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll have to tell myself sometimes, like, your body doesn't know really that you're 155 pounds. Like,
mhm.
like it's just a number for us to measure where we're at. It doesn't really mean much more than that.
No.
Yeah.
So, like, that's why I take pictures. It's why I do physical measurements. Like, it's why every once in a while I'll go shopping, even if I'm not trying to buy anything, just so that I can see what my body looks like in smaller clothes. Because
Mhm.
I'm not going to lie to you, I still have clothes in my closet from when I was 365 pounds that I wear.
Mhm.
They look like a tent on me, but I still wear them. And it's like sometimes somebody will look at me and they'll be like, why have you not thrown that away? Like, you look like you're wearing your mama's clothes. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm just like, well, first of all, I'm cheap. Like, my mom says I'm so tight I squeak when I walk.
Oh
But
boy.
there's a part of me that still doesn't, that's still stuck in that body.
I understand.
And like, I don't, even when I look back at those videos and I see my face, I never realized how big I was. Like, when I look at those videos now, I'm like, that's not me. That's not my
Mhm.
face. But it's just weird for me to like look back at that and be like, I don't recognize that person. Like I don't remember being that person.
Right.
The weight I am now, I'm actually smaller than I was when I met my husband 17 years ago,
Mhm.
but I still feel like I'm bigger than that. Like the
Yeah.
body dysmorphia
Yeah.
is real.
It is.
Like,
I still feel like my old fat self. I mean,
yeah.
I don't think, I don't look back on it and be like, oh, she was gross or anything like that. But it's
No.
like, I see how hard she was trying and it makes me feel
Yeah.
sad. And, but I'm also like, that was the girl who started. Like, she's
Mhm.
the one who got you started. So
Yeah, for
it's,
sure. Yeah, it's very rare for me to go back and watch any of my old content, but every once in a while, I'll just see one pop up on my feed and I'll be like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And I'll watch it and I'll be like, "I remember how hard that was for me, like to
mhm,
do whatever it was that I was doing." Like
yeah.
I'll watch when I started strength training or when I tried to do yoga. And it's just like I don't like I do, but I don't remember. Like it's hard. Like I still don't feel at home in my body. Like I've got skin everywhere. Like there's, you know what I mean? If you've
Yeah.
lost 125 pounds, like there's no avoiding it. Like your skin's not,
Understandable.
especially at 45 years old, like my skin's not gonna bounce back.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just weird. Like the way my body looked when I was this weight 17 years ago is not the way that my body looks now. And so it's just weird for me. And I don't know that I will ever feel normal again. And like
Yeah.
my husband has asked me before if I want to get skin removal done.
Hmm.
It terrifies me. Like
Yeah.
I've watched
Just,
people who have lost significant amounts of weight like document their recovery from their skin removal and it's so scary.
yeah.
Like I
I
just
know it's a lot of risk going under the
Yeah.
knife and stuff.
Yeah.
It's taken like a personal decision.
For sure. And I understand why people do it. And there is a large part of me that's like, I would love to be able to feel like I could wear, like, I've never worn a two-piece swimsuit in my life. Um, but I would love to be able to do that without feeling like I had bits and pieces everywhere. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? But
yeah,
I just can't even imagine what that would be like. And
yeah,
I honestly, before I would do that, like, I would want to maintain my weight loss for over a year
yeah.
before I
To kind
even,
of like prove to yourself and
yeah, that I could do it.
Mhm.
Because if I went through all of that and paid all that money and did all that, and then I regained some weight, like, I would feel like even more of a failure.
Yeah, it's
I don't know,
scary.
maybe it would end up being some more accountability. I have no idea,
Yeah,
but I honestly, like, knowing my food addicted self and like how my brain works now, like
mhm,
understanding, like having read some of this workbook and stuff,
mhm.
like the part of our brain that's addicted to the food, it has nothing to do with logic. Like, logically, I know what's healthy for me. I know what's not healthy for me. I know that what I'm doing is not good for myself, even in the moment. But I'm not thinking in those moments. Like when I used to binge, like there
Right.
was no
It's
thinking. There was just
autopilot.
action. It was
Yeah,
autopilot,
yeah.
1000%. Like I would be home alone on a Sunday when my husband was at work, and I would be like, I'm going to go get lunch. And I would literally go to probably 3 different fast food places because all of them had something that
Different
sounded good to
things,
me. And I
yeah.
would get different things, and I would just eat for like a solid hour or
Mhm,
more sometimes, because I would eat slow because I want to enjoy it. And and then I'd be like, okay, now I want dessert. And then I would go find some more dessert. And it was
mhm.
just like there is a reason I was 365 pounds. And there's a part of me that is terrified that I will do that again.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
it's so it's like it is an addiction. Like it's
mhm.
just like any addiction. Like
Right. But the worst part is that you can't just do avoidance. It's
yeah,
not like a meth
you can't.
addiction where
Yeah,
you
you
can say,
can't
I'll never
abstain.
be around meth again. No, you have to eat to survive. Like, it
Yeah,
is not optional. So it's one of the worst addictions to address,
yeah.
according to the workbook, that because you can't just avoid it. Like, you
I believe
can't.
it. I believe it.
And
Well,
um
I
but yeah.
mean, I guess kind of wrapping up and tying it all together.
Mhm.
Do you have any advice for someone who might want to start a GLP-1, or do you feel like that's something that you would advise, or do you feel like people should try calories in, calories out first before they try to do that?
I mean, pretty much anybody that's thinking about trying a GLP-1 has tried calories in, calories out without the meds,
Hmm.
without success, right? I mean, I don't think I've ever met someone on a GLP-1 where this was their first diet ever. I wish I had addressed the mental piece first. I wish I had addressed and understood the food addiction issues that I had, the things that led me to be the weight that I was in the first place.
Hmm.
I wish that I had addressed that first, because I feel like my entire journey would have been so much easier if I had understood and addressed those things first.
Right.
So if you think you may have a food addiction, if you think you may have an eating disorder, if you think that there's anything other than just something physically wrong with your body, then I would suggest addressing those things first.
Right.
And then if you think that GLPs are going to be the way to help your body, you know, to help give you the boost you need to make a diet work for you, absolutely do it. Take your time titrating.
Right. Absolutely. Learn
And
from us.
absolutely learn from our mistakes. And use a group like Fridays. Um, or some sort of doctor that specializes in GLP medications.
Yeah, I second that because if they don't know what they're doing, it's very easy for them to tell you the wrong thing, the wrong dose, the
Absolutely.
wrong schedule,
Mhm.
anything. Like there's a lot of physicians who have zero knowledge about this
And they're
subject.
still prescribing them, and they're not doing anybody any favors,
Yeah.
but they're never gonna turn you away. right? Like
Yeah.
they're not going to turn down the money.
Yeah.
So be prepared for the heartache with the shortages and everything like that if you're not
Mhm.
willing to go the compound route.
Oh, yeah. I would say this might be, I don't know if this is good advice, but I would say if you get any GLP-1, wait 2 weeks, get it filled, and then wait a week or two before you start it so that you have a little window of an extra
Mhm.
dose because
If you have the benefit of filling 3 months at a time, fill 3 months at a
yes,
time
get more than you
because
think you need.
absolutely, make sure you look into the coupons, if you're eligible for them, and make sure you use them. A lot of people don't even realize that coupons are still a thing. They absolutely are. They're not as good as they used to be, but they are a thing,
Mhm.
if you have insurance coverage. Um,
And if you don't have coverage, Fridays. Fridays is great.
Absolutely.
Like,
Well, even if you do have coverage Fridays,
yeah,
because
Fridays. Yeah, either way, but I mean, they
yeah.
absolutely. I mean, their pricing is like I wouldn't go anywhere else. Like
Mm-mm.
it's
Like,
really
honestly,
good.
even with my insurance, like the $99 a month,
Mhm.
like, is cheaper than what I pay for a copay to see a doctor.
Yeah, so I pay with my meds and then the membership. I think it's 228, no matter
Mhm.
what dose of semaglutide I'm on. So
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, I was paying $300 or $400 a month everywhere else. So
Oh, most people are paying if they're self-paying for Wegovy, they're paying at least $500 a month.
oh my
Most people.
gosh, no,
Yeah.
I'd rather go on vacation, like do something,
Seriously, like
do a
lots
house
of things.
project. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are options. There's nothing wrong with taking a compound. Educate yourself about what compounds actually are. I have a whole Q&A video on my channel about
Yes.
what compounds are, what they actually do, if you're interested in information about that.
Yes, we're gonna
Um,
plug your channel. Can you tell people like where to find you? I'm gonna link your channel in the description, but just
oh,
kind of
yeah.
fill in on where all your
I mean, you can just search me under my name, Mindy Pederson. But all of so Instagram and YouTube and Facebook are the only places I am. But it's all at Mindy P weight loss.
gotcha.
So all one word.
Okay.
But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. And I mean, you seem really like you've dug into the science. You're very knowledgeable, and your videos
I'm
seem on the informative side. You know,
Yeah,
I
I'm
like,
a knowledge girly. I mean, my content has evolved a lot over the years. In the beginning, I was purely vlog content. Like I was cooking like what I eat in a day type stuff, showing recipes, and
mhm,
then I was a this is what my life was like this week. Like all the highs, the lows, the everything.
mhm.
Since I had to go back to work and I haven't been able to spend as much time on my channel, my videos have transformed a lot. I've done a lot of more like informational videos, like talking about like high protein diets and compounds and all of
Mhm.
that stuff. And then I still do some vlog videos. They're very time intensive to edit. And
Yeah,
so I can't do them all the time.
yeah,
I just don't have the time that I used to.
yeah.
So
Well, and answering questions is so, I mean, there's anytime that I look up something and I can't find the answer and then I have to go come up with the answer, I'm like, okay, that's a video. Cause like
yeah,
I couldn't figure it out. So
right.
clearly people are searching for this. So
Right,
that's how,
exactly. And
that's how,
I would much rather hear it from somebody who's lived it than from some expert who's speaking from a whatever
yeah.
research point of
Yeah.
view.
Well, I cannot thank you enough for sharing with everyone. And I want
Yeah.
to send everyone over to your channel, subscribe to Mindy's channel.
Oh, thanks, guys.
You guys, I mean, this is something that obviously it's a personal choice, but I think it's been working out pretty well for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you've tried everything else and you haven't found something what's the definition of insanity? Trying the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Yep, it's time
We've
to
all
move.
been there.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It was fun hanging out.
You too. All right, guys. I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care.